Today on Locked On Canadiens, it is the Good Vibes Only season preview.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Canadiens. I want to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. As you know, we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. My name is Laura Saba, also known as the Active Stick, and unfortunately, I'm not joined, as always, by my wonderful co-host, Ian Boisvert. He had some other obligations to tend to. He will be back next week. However, unfortunately, he's missing today's episode, and this is one that I have been waiting to do since April. I've been waiting for the Montreal Canadiens season to come back since April. I've been waiting to do this episode since April. Why? Because it is the most excited I have been for a Montreal Canadiens season since, I don't even remember, maybe 2007, 2008, when the Canadiens were beaten by Philadelphia after winning the first round. They were beaten by Philadelphia in the next round. Maybe that was the last time that I was this excited about the Montreal Canadiens coming back for another season. And yes, anything is possible at the beginning of any season. But this is the first time I feel that I'm confident in the direction that the team is going. And so in today's episode, I want to talk about a bunch of things that we can be really excited about. Like I said, it is the Good Vibes Only season preview. So if you have some naysaying to do, you are absolutely welcome to do it. But please do it in tomorrow's comments and replies. Today, we're just excited. So at the time that you're listening to this, puck drop is tonight. The Montreal Canadiens are coming back against the Toronto Maple Leafs. As you know, they alternate home openers now, so it's Toronto's turn to get the Montreal Canadiens. We don't get to see them in our city until next Wednesday, the 14th. So against Seattle. I hope that Wednesday is the 14th. I'm pretty sure I got that wrong. I think it might be Tuesday. Anyways, the Canadiens open the season with 2 games against Toronto and then 1 against Detroit the following night. Immediately afterwards, it's back-to-back. There's going to be a lot of back-to-backs this season. That's something that we kind of have to get used to because the Olympics are also this year. There's so much to be excited about. I don't know why I don't know what to do with my hands. I've just, let's get into it. Let's just talk about some of the storylines that we have to look forward to. I think one of the biggest ones, and this is something that I am truly in my heart believing is something that we should be looking forward to, is number 1, the Patrick Laine redemption arc, and number 2, the Kirby Dach redemption arc. Now, with Patrick Laine, it's a little bit different because he had some injuries and then he had some mental health issues. He had some of that at the same time. He was having trouble having fun playing hockey. There was a lot going on there that he did a lot of work to overcome. So I think that, and I know this fan base is very divided on Patrick Laine. There's a lot of people who will not be sold on him no matter what we say, no matter what Patrick Laine does. But I, for one, am quite excited about Patrick Laine's quote-unquote redemption arc. Let's say Patrick Laine coming back. That's what I'm going to say, is Patrick Laine coming back. I don't know necessarily that it is a redemption arc. Although with Kirby Dach, I do think so, because I think that Kirby Dach last year, in the face of adversity, turned inwards and collapsed inwards, as opposed to seeking help, as opposed to, working out what was going on between his ears, as opposed to doing... I think he did work. I just think he was doing the wrong kind of work. Whereas now he has come back, and in the preseason, he has behaved like somebody who knows that not just that they have something to prove, which I think everybody knows that he has something to prove, but he's behaving like somebody who knows he can do it. He can prove us all wrong, or he can prove whoever is still in his camp, he can prove those people right? So those are 2 storylines that I think are going to be huge. And they're going to be huge for different reasons. I think Kirby Dach, obviously, the big question is, can he be a viable number 2C for this team? And that changes the entire trajectory of this team if they don't have to go out and keep looking for that hole in their lineup. They're not perfect, but as we'll go into in a little bit, this is something where if they don't have to worry about upgrading, then they can spend their energy and their cap elsewhere to improve the team. So, Kirby Dach, that's what I'm excited about. Patrick Laine, on the other hand, I'm excited to see him have fun playing hockey because a smug Patrick Laine is the best Patrick Laine. He is, I believe, like so talented. And I don't, it's not I believe, he is talented objectively. David St. Louis of EP Ringside or Elite Prospects, one of the people I respect the most in the hockey world, wrote an amazing article about what he brings to the game. And I think if he can just reclaim some of that magic, I think that he's going to be not just putting butts in seats at the Bell Center, not just, bringing back people who don't believe in him. And he doesn't owe anyone anything, but bringing back people who don't believe in him and just making them, see how special this player is. So, the expectations on both are different. And the Patrick Laine comes with the added, like, if it does work out, it comes with added complications if the Canadiens end up wanting to keep him, right? But either way, I'm excited for these two stories. That's, I think, one of the things, and it's not the only thing, it's one of the things that I'm excited about. Speaking of kind of a redemption arc, but not really, I think I should put it in a different way. Speaking of things to prove, I think one of the other storylines to be watching out for is Juraj Slafkovsky being a full season Slav as opposed to half season Slav, right? Second half Slav. I want to say that he has matured and left that behind. So I'm excited to watch and see what he does with this challenge because I do believe the Canadiens have thrown down this challenge at him. You need to be more consistent. This is something, you're going to grow into it. I think people always forget how young he is. And I do too, because he's very large and he's been in the NHL for much longer than you'd expect. So that's something, and I wouldn't call it a redemption arc, but I would call it something to prove. Like, I think Juraj Slafkovsky has to be first half Slav too, just because, he talked a lot about the Slovak national hockey team and all of that. And he's going to be like one of the focal points of their national team, right? When it comes to international play. So he really has to show that it's not just a flash in the pan, or it's not just when things go right. He's had 2 seasons where things didn't go well. He's had to have conversations with management, right? Like just a sort of like a grow up kind of moment. And so I want to see that he's grown. I really like, that's something that I'm super excited about, because think about a consistent Slafkovsky for an entire season, because what we saw last year was we saw that Cole Caufield was able to be more consistent overall. We saw that Cole Caufield was able to regain his scoring touch after working on developing other aspects of his game in previous years. And we saw Nick Suzuki reach a height that has eluded him, but he has been working towards for a very long time. I truly think that this season, Nick Suzuki is going to have at least 92 points. That's where I stand. That's something. Again, I'm getting way ahead of myself. I'm just so excited. Aren't you excited? I don't know why. I went to work today looking like a school teacher, like a history school teacher, but I feel like such a nerd right now about this team. I've been waiting for them to come back for so long, and we'll get into any kinds of adversity and all of that on another episode. We'll do that later. We'll do it if they lose against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Maybe we'll have that conversation. If they lose against Detroit, or maybe even if they win against these two teams, we'll have that conversation later, because today I just want to focus on all these exciting things that we have to look forward to. So just consider how much the team will gain from Juraj Slafkovsky being good all season. He figures it out in the first couple of games. He looks good. He looks great. His line mates continue to elevate him as they elevate themselves. And there's just something so special just about thinking about that. And I cannot contain my excitement. Coming up next, I've just got a whole bunch more things to be excited about. Like I said, this episode was going to be a little bit different. I've been planning it for a while. And when I found out that my co-host wasn't going to be here, I was only bummed that he was not going to be able to partake in all of this. But I'm just so looking forward to this game starting. Coming up next, a few more storylines that are intriguing, but in a good way, not in a bad way. And that's all in just one moment here on Locked On Canadiens. This episode is brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. I've been in that spot where you need to get the right hire yesterday because the deadlines are coming up. There's so much pressure. And if you don't hire the right person, everything gets derailed and then starts reflecting badly on your career as well. And that's exactly why you need Indeed sponsored jobs. That's where they come in handy because they make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. And now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. All right, folks, let's get into some other storylines. I have not mentioned just yet that my co-host is constantly saying this, and I've been the naysayer in that situation. He's been saying that last season's Laine Hutson was the worst we were ever going to see this kid. That was his rookie season. He can only build upon that. And as much as I think a regression is natural in these cases, a sophomore slump is one we hear about all the time. Just imagine that pans out. Just think about Laine Hutson being better than last season. Not only that, but Laine Hutson likely being your top, your top three defenseman or like your third defenseman or whatever, because Noah Dobson's probably going to be playing on that top line, right? So just think about a better Laine Hutson than last year being part of your depth, right? That is something elite teams have. That is something relentless teams have. So I just, it's not just the fact that Laine Hutson is primed to get better, and I really do hope it works out. Like I said, no bad advice. I'm not allowed to naysay on this podcast. If you guys can't do it, I'm not allowed to do it either. So imagine that works out. But that works out not when he's being relied upon the most. That works out when Noah Dobson is the first layer that teams have to deal with. And then Laine Hutson's up next, right? Like they withstand that offense. Then Laine Hutson shows up. They have to withstand that too. Now, again, this is not set in stone. Laine Hutson could be the number one defenseman and Noah Dobson, your number three or whatever it is. Like, I don't think that Marty cares all that much about this kind of stuff. I think Marty just wants to keep rolling. He just wants to keep rolling. And for me, I just, like, I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it. It's going to give us fits. It's going to give us heart attacks sometimes, especially when you want them to back check. But I really can't wait to see them dance around other teams, both of these guys. And, speaking of defense, Kaiden Guhle, I don't know why. Whenever he comes back, whether he comes back to training camp from the offseason or he comes back from an injury or whatever it is, it's always so good to see him, isn't it? I just feel like with Kaiden Guhle, there's something that I feel like he's uplifting, right? Not in the way that Cole Caufield makes everyone full of joy, but I feel like Kaiden Guhle makes everyone feel more secure with what's going on the ice, right? He's going to take care of everything. He's got this, and you're going to let everyone else run around. So Kaiden Guhle, another person I'm super excited about. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the possibility of Adam Engstrom being called up to the NHL and staying there. I don't know what circumstances would perpetuate that, whether it's an injury, whether it's poor play, whether it's a trade or something like that. But Adam Engstrom is somebody that I think has really, really impressed. And he's impressed with the level of maturity that he has for such a young player. But also, if you remember, I had Patrick Bexell on a few weeks ago in the summer. And he talked a lot about the work that Adam Engstrom puts in, right? Like, he's not just a smart player, but he really goes and he does the work. And I can't say enough about how I feel that there's depth on this team, right? Like, somebody gets injured, he's going to be there. And I feel so good about that. Also, something that happened, talking about hard work in the offseason, turns out that Alex Newhook consulted Patrice Bergeron on faceoff. That Alex Newhook has decided that he's going to be the faceoff guy. He's put in the work. He's going to make it happen. And I believe in him. So I'm so grateful that there is an Alex Newhook on this team. Sometimes he does feel like he's going to end up the odd man out when this core is settled. But for now, I'm just I really feel I really like that he's decided to bring this dimension to his game. Also, speaking of evolving, something that I'm excited about that relates back to last year is that this team was not one where they had surplus pieces. The year before, it felt like that, right? Like the year before, it felt like the Canadiens are never going to get away from Brendan Gallagher's contract. It feels like an albatross. They're never going to get away from Josh Anderson's contract. It felt like an albatross. There was the David Savard thing as well, although the Canadiens didn't think that way. I think the Canadiens just love him. I can see why. I don't, I don't have anything to say about that part, but we as fans felt like these guys, and I know a lot of people said that about Mike Matheson too, but I'm not going to get into that. This is the Good Vibes podcast. And we talked about like and those guys felt it too, right? Like you could see it in the way that Josh Anderson carried himself. He felt like a surplus piece. He felt like a useless piece, right? And he was probably conscious of all of the eyes on him and everyone just kind of thinking that he didn't belong there. So what did he do last year? He changed the way he plays his game and he evolved. What did Brendan Gallagher do last year? He changed the way his game and he evolved. So, and I would say, like, I would argue that David Savard found a way to play even though he was well on his way to retirement, right? Like his body had done a lot of work, won Stanley Cup, right? He's earned his retirement, but it felt like he wasn't going to be able to make things happen. But even he found a way to maximize his usefulness, right? So I just think that that's something that makes me feel good about this team overall, because it's partly in the players' hands if something's not working out, but it's also partly in the organization's hands. And it just makes me feel so positive that they figured out ways to handle these things, right? Justin Barron not working out, you out, right? We're trading you for Alex Carrier. Josh Anderson not working out, let's give you an assignment. Let's make you feel good about yourself. Let's make you thrive. And now you're an indispensable part of this team, right? Brendan Gallagher, maybe you don't play as hard as you used to. Maybe we have some conversations about the decisions you make about your own health. And maybe, you become a more durable player. Maybe you become that guy, and he's going to be the heart and soul of this team. So I feel really good about the way this entire team has gone about things, whether it came from the management, whether it came from the coaching staff, wherever it came from. The fact that these guys were like found purposes for themselves in this team and were contributors in its eventual success, despite the really rough start, I think is something that I feel very strongly that the Habs have it under control. They got this, right? Like we don't have to worry about this. They got this. So that was another thing that I thought was positive from last year. That's another thing that I'm excited about for this year. And like there's just so much. I'm going to run out of time. The other day I had Maud on from Game Over Ottawa. And I was so excited about the offseason moves the Canadiens had made. I completely forgot to mention Zach Bonjic, which I felt really bad about. And some of you listeners would call me out on it because Maud was the one who remembered and asked about him. Was like, she was like, something like one name I didn't hear was Zach Bonjic, and I was like, oh no, I forgot. Right? Like there's so many other things to be excited about. But what I like about Zach Bonjic is that one, he's really young. So this was a guy that is only going to get better. But two, he seems to give them a lot of options, right? Like he seems to be somebody that they can throw on the second line, they could throw him on the third line, and he's going to do great. That was such a smart move the Montreal Canadiens did, and it kind of also liberated them from having to constantly think about what to do with Logan Mailloux, who's always on the cusp of making the NHL team, but he never did, right? So it allowed the Canadiens, this move allowed the Canadiens to kind of divest themselves from that conversation and invest in a different asset, right? So again, I'm excited to see what he's going to bring. Whatever the question is, I think he's an answer. So we're going to talk a little bit more about all this. I've just been listing things, and I hope you guys are feeling the same way I am. The more I think about this team, the more I want to run through a wall. But we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about more storylines to get excited about. And also, do not forget our trivia. And that is coming up in just one moment here on Locked On Canadian. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So, what are you waiting for? Visit fanduel.com to download the app today and get started. All right. So today we are just talking about all the things we're excited about for the season, all the storylines we're excited about for the season. And I know I'm going to run out of episode time before I get to all of them. So I do invite all of you guys to kind of share in my joy and just talk about what you're hyped about for this season. You know, we talked a lot about the way that these guys kind of stayed in Montreal. They played together and they stayed together. They skated together, right? Like they're a tight knit group. They're playing for each other. They're playing for Marty, right? There's a lot of that what we talked about. But I know you guys are excited about so many things. I haven't even gotten to special teams. I haven't even gotten to Ivan Demidov. That's how many things are happening with this team. But before I get to that, let's talk about goaltending. I think this is the first time I felt confident in the backup. It's been a while, actually. This is not true. It's not the first time. It's been a while. That's a more accurate way to put this. That I've been confident about the backup. Like Jakub Dobes, like just he gives me joy. He's so lovable. He's crazy, but he gives me joy. And part of that joy is knowing that he has the confidence, right? He is not going to get shaky. He might not have a good game, but he's going to pick himself back up and he's going to figure it out, right? He's done this, first game against the Stanley Cup champions in a shutout. I think, that's how he established his NHL debut. And then coming in for Samuel Montembeault in game 3 after Samuel Montembeault injured himself, there's just so much guts on this guy. And also, like, I do also want to talk about that, the way he chirps, right? He gets into trouble for running his mouth, but he's not scared to do it. And so there's just something so joyous about that. I just find him so lovable. Samuel Montembeault, right? Don't know if he tried it all in the preseason, but doesn't mean I'm not confident in him. Maybe we had another crazy shutout record against the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. You don't know. I don't know. I hope so. So Samuel Montembeault too. But there are some players that I'm gonna miss. There's some topics that I haven't even discussed yet, like the special teams. I haven't gotten to that. But maybe what I want to focus on a lot right now is Ivan Demidov. So Ivan Demidov, I think, is kind of in this position where we as Montreal fans, we are not able to be tempered about anything. We are our usual selves about Ivan Demidov, but we can't help it. Like every single moment he's on the ice, he's electrifying. And this is his rookie season. My co-host keeps talking about how he's the odds-on front runner for the Calder Cup. Calder Trophy, not the Calder Cup. I'm so sorry. No, he's not going to the AHL. The Calder Trophy, right? I see it. I see it happening. I see him able to do it. If the things pan out, maybe 3/4 as good as they're supposed to pan out, I think he can do it. I have full faith in this kid. It's just, I can't wait to see him play. I can't wait until we're like falling apart and coming to blows over whether or not they need to move him to the Nick Suzuki line or they keep him where he is. I can't wait to see how many people they play him with. I can't wait to see who brings out the best in him. I don't know. Like he's gonna make some people look very, very foolish, and I hope all of those people are Toronto Maple Leafs and Boston Bruins and Ottawa Senators. The highlight reels. I'm excited for the highlight reels, and I don't know. This is the most joy we're gonna have until they start losing games or they go through a slump. Or maybe every other team is really so good that they don't make the playoffs, and then it like the end happens. But today, I feel so grateful that he's a Montreal Canadian, that he fell to Montreal. Something that I am excited about, but not yet, is 2 Xhekaj games in the regular NHL season. Florian Xhekaj, I think, really solidified his spot as being the first call-up from the Montreal Canadiens, from the Laval Rocket to the Montreal Canadiens. So I'm excited for the moment that happens. I don't know yet if I want to mention Arbor Xhekaj as an excitement, because I don't know who they're going to play between him and Struble. I don't know how that's going to work. Is it going to be a rotation? Is one of them going to beat the other one out? So we'll get to that when we get to that. We'll get to the special teams, because like every time I turn around, there's a new special teams practicing. And so Marty's been not making us guess, but I think Marty's just experimenting right now. So I'm excited to see what happens there. Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield, I think, reliably give us all joy. I want to see Nick Suzuki hit those 92 points. I want to see Cole Caufield hit the 40 goals. And I think there's so many of these players that maybe they don't have anything to prove, but maybe they want to prove it to themselves, right? I don't think Nick Suzuki anymore, there's any question marks surrounding him. I don't think Cole Caufield, there's any question marks surrounding him. I think at this point, they can just be confident, they can do their thing, and they can reach new heights. So I am running out of time a little bit, so I do want to talk about Marty for a moment. Last year, when the Canadiens got off to a rough start, we questioned Marty a lot. We also questioned the decision in the first place, right? Like, they brought in a coach with zero experience. As much as we love Marty as a concept, right? They brought him in. He had no formal coaching experience. He had consulting experience. He had teaching, coaching his kids' experience, but he didn't have NHL, AHL, ECHL, any HL coaching experience. So there was definitely, I think, a lot of doubt. And some people still think he's not a good coach, which I have a lot of questions about that, because one thing Marty was able to do was he was able to take a season that was on the verge of being lost and turn it around and make it into a season full of hope. And now he's saying that this is the best camp they've ever had. This is the deepest they've ever been. And he said himself, he's demanding more, right? And you saw what happened towards the end of last season when they were on the verge of making the playoffs. There were a lot of fits and spurts. There was a lot of, we talked about how they let the moment get to them. And Marty alluded to it in his post game after they made the playoffs against Carolina. He alluded to it, and he said, my guys had the last word. And he did talk about the emotions and all the emotions they lived in that very short amount of time, in that span of 4 or 5 days. Marty is the right guy to lead them through things like that. Marty is like, the way that Marty adjusted to Spencer Carbery's coaching in game 3, it was a masterclass. Now, Marty too is a rookie when it comes to playoff coaching. So I do think that he's also going to take away a lot of those lessons, and he's going to do the same thing, but he's going to be able to do it on a bigger scale. He's going to be able to adjust regularly, right? He's going to be able to not just adjust after 2 games and then, put on a clinic in game 3. Like, let's say the same thing had happened and the Canadiens had lost in game 4, which I would argue they didn't play too badly in game 4. But, before you lose the entire season in 5 games, he would have adjusted. He would have turned it back around. Those 3-1 comebacks, I think they're 100% possible under Marty. Like, I think he's a guy that is able to lead them through it. And I know a lot of people are like, he's going to be the guy that brings them almost to the point where they win the cup, and then they're going to need some like master tactician or whatever. I think you should let Marty cook. I think we should all let Marty cook. And I think we should stop doubting him, and we should start watching what he learns, because he learns very fast. And he himself has, he's gone from a big question mark to somebody that we all feel safe with. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. I hope you enjoy the season. We do have trivia. So I need to just remember the question. No, I do remember the question that I asked. Sorry. I need to pull up the order of the journey that I talked about. So yesterday's trivia question, in case you missed it, was a follow that player question. And so the way that works is that I talk about all of the teams they go to in order, and then you guess who the player is. So yesterday's question was the player was player for Toronto, then Montreal, then Minnesota/Dallas, then Vancouver, the New York Rangers, and then LA. And Ted C had the answer. The answer was obviously Russ Quirtnall. And that is correct. And so today's question is actually related to that, because initially when I was trying to write the trivia question, I wanted this other guy to be the answer. And I just went down a rabbit hole and picked him. So today's question is same era, same team, not all the same team, same team. This person also played for Montreal and Dallas and had his best, most productive season playing alongside Guy Carbonneau and Russ Courtnall. Who is that player? I guess this one is for I guess I'm going to say people who are around at the same time as my parents, but not the same time as me. That's who this question was geared at. But please send me your guesses for trivia. That's all for trivia. And you can leave them in the comments on YouTube. You can email us. You can send it to us on social media. But I just want to wish everybody a very happy regular season. I hope that at the end of this, I'm wishing you guys all a happy postseason. I am just so happy that the Canadiens are back, and whether it's ups, it's downs, it's wins, it's losses, it's trades, it's more prolonged contract negotiations, it's rumors, Locked On Canadiens is here for you 5 days a week, and we really want you to come on this ride with us. So subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. You can also find us on social media. You can leave comments in our YouTube. You can send us emails, lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com. You can also send us mailbag questions for the Friday mailbag there. You'll find us on TikTok at Locked On Canadiens. You'll find us on Blue Sky at Locked On Canadiens. You will find us on Instagram at Locked On Canadiens. You can send us DMs there. You can send us replies there. All of that, mailbag questions, trivia answers, anything, thoughts, observations. A lot of times you guys send me corrections, and hey, I'm grateful for that because you just make me better as a podcaster. I really want you guys to come along on the ride with us. It's such a good time to be a Montreal Canadien. We're going to have a lot of highs and lows. We're going to have a lot of emotional moments this season, and we're going to do it all together. So subscribe, tell your friends. You'll find me personally on social media at The Active Stick. You'll find my co-host on social media at Maybe It's Ian. Maybe a little bit quiet the next couple of days, but he will be back very, very soon. We're hoping by early next week, he's back on the podcast, arguing about things like officiating and special teams with me. And please share what you guys are excited about, because I went through all the things I was excited about, but I forgot some things. There were some things that I wrote down that I forgot or ran out of time to talk about. So please share that in the comments. Just have a good season, everyone. Be good to each other. Go Habs, go. And I will see you tomorrow after the Leafs game.